Yes, what is up, Patreon crew? I know many of you are on the live stream here for the post show. Just give it a second or a refresh, and that live chat room will pop right up there. Oh, it says chat is still disabled. Stand by.
Oh boy.
I don't know why.
Oh, I think it's
is
up.
it working now?
Yeah.
Yeah, this has been a YouTube change, guys. It's not my fault. I apologize that the live chat, for some reason, on unlisted live streams, the chat doesn't appear immediately.
Oh,
so
yep, we have Wing in the chat room.
Yep, chat room is now activated. So if you are watching here for the post show, thank you. That means you are a GR Crew member, Patreon supporter. We very much appreciate it. Helps everything happen behind the scenes and everything like that. If you're watching on the Patreon side, all you got to do is click the YouTube link at the top of this video. Just hover over it, and it'll take you over to the YouTube page, and you'll see the live chat room right there. We're going to just rapid fire questions at David here. Kim's already pulled a bunch aside from the main show, but if you've got one, toss it in here. We'll just get right to it. We'll basically bypass the line.
Yeah. There's a question from A2B2 in the chat room asking if there's going to be an audio book or a narrated version of your book for Audible.
That's a great question. We need to get Addie to squeal the whole thing. Oh my God, I would listen to a whole book of that. No, so we don't know yet. I think it probably depends on pre-order interest or something like that. In other words, we know nothing about publishing, so we're kind of deferring to our publisher on all that. So I need to ask.
I think we read that Brian Powell of Iron Far, I think they wrote a book recently, like last year. I forget the exact that time that the book was released, but he just found out that they have an audiobook of it. They were not consulted on it at all. It was
so they didn't get to narrate it
themselves?
No,
someone else narrated it, and someone was like, "Hey man, is it cool if I buy this audiobook of yours?" And Brian was like, I have an audiobook? I did not make this audiobook. So I hope that they don't do that to you, because I think it would be much better to hear you and Megan read your book.
Oh my gosh, hear our like back and forth during it. I actually think that would be way more interesting, is to hear our Mystery Science Theater 3000 of the book, where we talk about all of the things that are like, that is such BS.
Get like someone famous like John Cleese or Neil Armstrong is what I almost said. That makes no sense. But yeah, get someone famous to read it, and then you comment over the top of it.
I like that Neil Armstrong was like,
I don't know.
That's the name you're going to draw.
I don't know. I got brain fog. Sorry. More questions.
Question from Amber in the chat room. Amber asks, what would be your advice to someone who is working through some injuries but is continuing their strength training and a little cardio and wants to pick up running again?
So just be patient on the intro. Like running easy, like it's really anticlimactic at first, because your easy is going to just inherently be a good bit slower. But if you just start that process and let your body gradually adapt, you'll find that it really comes back quickly. So I would say like start with just 20 minutes, mix in run, walking, do things like that. Do it like 3 times a week to start, then 5 or 6, and basically start real small and then build up. Like give yourself time, view it over many months, because that's how you like build that healthy base that you can then do like incredible things from later.
Great.
Question from Austin in the chat room. Austin asked, David, how would you describe what the team feel is of SWAP? How important is to you as coaches to try and develop a team identity within the SWAP community?
So you ever seen like one of those videos from like a puppy playpen? That's kind of how I want it to be. It's like no one is like, just different puppies get thrown in and then they all start playing together and they're like jumping in the water and stuff. Yeah, so I mean, the team element was never the initial goal. Like it was something that kind of spontaneously formed from the team members. And Megan and I are team members. Like we're not like we view ourselves as team members too. So it's kind of like this try to be like democratic type thing. And so I mean, the weirdest part to me is hearing. It's kind of like the audiobook comment. Hearing that SWAP athletes are will have meetups where there's like barbecue, and then we don't even know about it until after it happens and we see photos. It's like 20 people who we were really close to, but we never knew they knew each other. So, I mean, I think the way the team element works is just knowing that people actually like deeply care about what's going on in your life. And sometimes that can mean really different things to different people. It's built some amazing in-person like friendships and even a few relationships, which also blows my mind. But yeah, I mean, I think it's more about just like a community of unconditional support. Like if anyone ever said anything negative about another person, like they'd be dead to me. Like that's just not okay. And so yeah, from a place of unconditional support, a lot of really beautiful things can happen.
Wing in the chat room says sounds a lot like the GR crew, and that's what I was thinking. Like what your description, it's amazing. This community of runners, first and foremost, just trail runners and runners of all abilities and stuff like that. The sports community is pretty amazing, and then you see these smaller groups of them, like the Swap or the GR crew, and the humanity between them is incredible. Like it also accidentally sort of happened with Ginger Runner viewers and stuff, and now through Patreon, and it's amazing. It's amazing to see everyone meet up at races and like help each other through aid stations or support or crewing or pacing. We've had all of it, and it's like, how is this? This is crazy. This is so wonderful, wonderful.
We love what you guys created in your community so much. I mean, when Megan joined, Megan just finished medical school at Stanford last year, and we were on Ginger Runner Live right as she was finishing. So she had been coaching forever, but she was at a point where she could ramp up, and then we were on Ginger Runner Live right then, and so it was like perfect timing because that Megan was looking to increase the numbers, and so that got a lot of Ginger Runner crew who were, I mean, most of the athletes were probably already Ginger Runner crew, but like it was a concerted push of Ginger Runner crew people. And it's been the best thing for the development of the team over the last year and a half,
100%.
And so, yeah, there's it's definitely a Venn diagram that kind of looks like a circle. So yeah. And
probably a lot like a telescope.
Yeah, exactly.
Both of our communities are great. They're wonderful humans, and there's a lot of crossover. I know that for sure, but I think just you and I and Kim and Megan are also in that similar boat of like, this is so much further beyond expectations, and I love it. Like you just mentioned it, but a part of me is like, my secret dream is that there's like a couple that comes of this. Like people meet, that they get along, they fall in love or something. I'm like, whoa, that would be crazy. That would be crazy.
Then, the reality of it is then you end up having
grandkids.
Yeah, I mean, this is more of like a morbid point, but then you'll end up having community divorces and things. So, like, my point is, it introduces a lot of the interpersonal, conflict and things too, but that's a part of a full life. And as long as you confront all of that stuff openly, which I think probably the reason the GR community is so great is that you talk about things like your own issues you had around races, like anxiety and stuff, and that makes other people more comfortable with like their own, being like emotional or intimate or whatever, like the baselines of whatever forms a relationship.
Yep. Sorry, I know we had lots of little questions pop through the chat room there.
Wing Taylor in the chat room called you Uncle Ginger.
Oh, I'm an uncle.
Question from Vivian in the chat room. Vivian asked, nutrition question. 6+ miles run are the runs that I take in calories and water, but should I worry about nutrition on every run regardless of distance?
No, I mean, I think a general rule is to simplify as much as you can. And with that in mind, I mean, I think a lot of people are way too tied to having like nutrition or hydration with them. If your run is under 90 minutes or 80 minutes, you probably don't need anything. And, start the run hydrated, especially women will probably want to have eaten beforehand at some point. But due to the way glycogen interacts with hormonal profiles. But yeah, if your runs are like your normal daily run that's under 90 minutes, like you probably don't need anything. And simplifying that really does make things easier. If you're on the East Coast, you might need a sip of water in there, but the body is amazing at conserving. Like I think it's always a crutch, like to analogize to human evolution. But in this instance, I'm going to lean on that crutch. And that like when humans were like developing in Africa, like we didn't have like water bottles with us on, doing like daily activities. Like the body is made to be able to conserve these things. While running is a little bit unnatural, that also means that like you can adapt to where your daily run, you probably don't need anything. And that those adaptations will actually probably be beneficial for you. But then once you start going over that, feel like race day, like, you'll want to do everything the right way with like, calories every half hour and, however, replacing your sweat rate, that sort of thing.
Awesome.
Me?
Yeah. Yeah.
Question from Lori in the chat room. Lori asks, any advice for people losing fitness due to the stupid, suffocating humidity? My fitness is destroyed. I feel like I have to start from scratch.
Well, you're not losing fitness. If you've been running, the fitness is just waiting for the heat to lift. And I'm sure you'll feel that like as soon as a cold front comes through and it's 60 degrees and not humid, like it is in like California every day or something, you'll feel like a totally different person. So what I would recommend for future summers is to really focus on those stride things that we talked about, very short, fast bursts that you can maintain your speed even as like it's impossible to run fast for long in those conditions. But take heart. Like I see this every year where people panic in August and September where I'm just not ready. I'm nowhere near where I should be. Then they either crush their race or the heat lifts and they feel like a new person and they're setting like every PR. So it might not always happen like that, but the basic thing is, there's a lot of benefits to training in that stuff. So you can view it not as like a fitness reducer, but as a fitness enhancer. And yeah, just wait till it gets a little nicer to judge.
There's a good question in here from Vivian. When you get sick, how long before you should wait before getting back into running?
Well, it depends whether you have like the bubonic plague or a cold. But that's a great question. So, I mean, the general rule is you don't want to train through really bad illness of any type. Like bronchial infections are terrible. You want to, like if something's in your chest, you probably shouldn't run or do things that are so low level that it's basically like walking. So, you can go out and run extremely slow, that sort of thing. But, it's highly variable. I think in general, like if you just have a cold, you can probably jog really easily through it. But bag all workouts. Don't do anything stressful on your body. And if it's really hard to leave the house, don't, just have chicken soup and watch Netflix.
Nice. And probably the last question from Wing.
Yeah. Question from Wing in the chat room. Wing says, David, wondering about flexibility and mobility as a part of running economy. I feel like I'm on a plateau due to inability to get more power per stride due to lack of flexibility and mobility.
It's a really insightful, like a really savvy question. Clearly understands. Yeah. So generally, like people are not limited by range of motion. So flexibility is usually not a prime contributor to running economy. What might be is a little bit of the mobility elements you mentioned. So like making sure you have a stable core and things like that. But in reality, I mean, all the studies show that stretching is actually pretty poor for running economy, though stretching might have benefits that are unrelated. So what I would think about more than like flexibility and mobility is things like foam rolling and like leg swings, maybe Myrtle, like hip exercises like the Myrtle routine, things like that. So do those, that'll really help. And then add just like a base amount of strength work. We have like a 5-minute mountain legs routine that we have athletes do that is really quick. You do a few step ups and you get a little bit more power per stride over time. But
it's like brutal. Highly recommended, but it's brutal for the first like 2 weeks of doing it. It's nasty.
Yeah.
Still dread it. I don't know why I give it to people, but
I do. It works. Like you're talking about power. That's one of the first things I noticed after doing it for I don't do it much anymore.
Yeah, I think this household needs a reminder of how important it is.
But I remember, the first couple of weeks of doing it, you can feel the strength in, especially with like hiking and climbing, like big climbing, you can feel it.
Yeah, so it's really connected to that. And then, yeah, with everything else, I mean, like, I just think athletes should be like limit how much stuff you add, because everything you add is eventually going to fall by the wayside unless it's something you really deeply care about, or it's going to add too much stress. So like try to find the quickest, easiest things you can do and do it that you can do as often, like anywhere from 3 to 5 times a week, So a 2-minute routine that you do often is way better than a hour routine that you do for 2 months and then don't do for 6. So yeah, simplify.
Sweet. That's it, David. We really appreciate you taking the time out tonight, man, to stay, especially to stick around a little bit longer with us, share a beer with us, and just drop the knowledge. Really excited for the book. Happy runner. I hope everyone here, GR Crew, pre-orders it. It's worth it. Like the chapters that we've read are
definitely
just wonderful. They've helped us a lot. Man, again, thank you so much. And where can people find you again on social?
Everywhere.
We've got his at Mountain Roach right there on Twitter. That his tag is underneath his name. Start there, and he's on every platform.
There, and then go pre-order the book, and then
yeah.
It's a profile. It's a profile.
It's a profile. It's an Instagram. It's a book. But this guy knows his stuff and has definitely helped Kim and I a lot in the last year that we've been working with him. So thank you, David, for everything.
Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it. So fun to be a part of you guys.
We appreciate it, man. And everyone who is watching right now, you are members of the Patreon crew. We really, really appreciate that. Just the level of support, no matter how long you've been here, if you're brand new, or if you've been here for years, or you've come and gone, or whatever. It doesn't matter. You guys are members of our family, and it's pretty awesome to have you. So thank you so much for tuning into the post show here with David Roach. Show him some love on social. You know how we do. And that's pretty much it, I think. I was going to talk a little bit about Tianaway. Let me just say this. That is the second hardest 100, I think, in the United States, behind Hard Rock. I've never seen or touched Hard Rock. That's why I won't say it's the hardest, because I've never seen Hard Rock. But Hard Rock is also at elevation, and there's no doubt that it's probably one of the hardest in the United States. But Tianaway Country 100 is bonkers. It's bonkers.
Yeah, I think maybe we'll try and get Brian on the show eventually to talk about it.
Brian created this course. He is a sadist, and it was...
But Brian's like...
When
I think about Brian, I think about the most gentle, sweetest, kind person.
Yeah. The race he created is next level. It's gorgeous. Like the terrain out there, it's right through the Cascades, but on the east side of the Cascades. If you've ever heard of the Enchantments, it's on the back side of the Enchantments. There's very little ways for me to describe it other than you need to come check it out. Not necessarily the race, but the region. And if the race tickles your fancy and you want something hard that's going to tickles the fancy.
And if you want something hard.
that tickles that fancy. Consider it. It's the first year. Next year, it's going to be even better.
The second year.
It's going to be the second year. And then the year after will be the third year. So, I got to pace a friend for 20 miles. And in those 20 miles, I learned a lot about Washington and some of the trails that they have. Tough. That's it.
So we've signed everybody up for next year.
So everyone is registered. Get David as your coach. We'll see you next year for the Tianaway Country 100.
What a terrible.
That would be a nightmare. Like, I would wake up in hot sweats, just like, oh my God, someone registered me for 100. I am on the wait list for the Mountain Lakes 100, which is taking place this Saturday.
So we're packing our bags.
I was 150 on the wait list like a month ago, and now I'm 20.
Does David know this?
David doesn't. David's here.
And David's like sitting there going, cool.
So, David, I might run 100 on Saturday. I won't.
100.
But when someone told me that I was number 20 on the wait list, I was like, no.
That someone was me.
Don't tell me that. I just got inspired at a 100-miler. The last thing I need is like, well, here's one that you could be running on. Whatever. That's it. My brain is, seriously, it's
also very hot in this room.
It's also very hot in this room. David, thank you for the time. Please give our love to Addie and Megan. Love you guys. Hope you're all very well. And so excited for all the new changes. Colorado, the book, everything. So excited for you guys. And congrats. We didn't even talk about it.
We did not talk about it.
Congrats on third place at the Xterra Nationals, man.
Thank you so much.
That must have felt amazing.
Oh, no, I don't care about that stuff. It was really fun to we definitely had we're like, oh, we are going to get so drunk. Well, not drunk, but so we ordered I'll have the IPA, she'll have the stout. And then Megan was like, this doesn't taste that much. And then she's like, oh, because Utah has a 4% beer law. So yeah, anticlimactic.
About that. Well, now you're back home and you can go to town.
Yeah.
But congrats on that race. We'll have to get you back on soon and talk about
tomorrow.
That. Yeah, tomorrow. Thank you, Patreon crew. Good night, everyone. See you next week. That's it. Bye-bye.